Conservation Commission, Inland Wetlands Agency, acting as the Inland Wetlands Agency meeting for January 8th, 2025. Happy New Year, everybody. Lucas Thomas, Dabney Bone, Peter Hood, Kato Mahoney, Ted Lixinger, Dan Saunders are all here. And the Inland Wetlands Agency meeting of December 4th, 2024. Commissioners, any comments or corrections?
On the 4180 Black Rock, as you all might recall, they rattled off a long list of conditions for the approval. And when I read this, I thought it might be missing some things. So I actually went back today and transcribed what he said.
Okay.
There are additional items that should go in here or clarifications.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want me to read it or just email this to Tim,
Yeah,
or.
let's do that. Would that be okay?
Sorry?
Is it okay to email whatever those are to Tim and then you can connect? Correct it that way. That'll be fun.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll do that then.
And Commissioner Hood just reminded me, Diane, you're an alternate, so I'm going to appoint you as a full member for tonight's purposes. Okay.
Nice catch.
Okay. Well, any other comments on the December 4th minutes? Otherwise, motion to approve with corrections. That and Dan second. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And then the Inland Wetlands Agency site walk meeting from December 8th, 2024. Any comments or corrections there? Nope. Okay, motion to approve. And Kate seconds. All in favor? Yeah. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Moving right along to public hearings. Number one, continued one, WP-24-0127, Career Engineering, 1237 Stratfield Road, M&T Bank, parcel 46, map 46, parcel 20A, removal of existing failing retaining wall and construction of new modular block wall in the regulated area. The decision may be made if the hearing is completed or the hearing may be continued. The original 35-day public hearing timeframe to complete the hearing ends on January 8th, 2025. A 65-day time extension may be provided by the applicant, so further public hearing continuations to March 14th, 2025 are possible. A potential continuation date is February 5, 2025. If the hearing is completed, the agency shall make a decision within 35 days. Commissioners that are eligible to vote are Lucas Thomas, Dabney Bowen, Jay Fain, Peter Hood, Kato Mahoney, Ted Lixinger, and Diane Saunders. Commissioners not present on December 4th, 2024 were Richard Boucher, Heather Rosenthal, and Salvatore Rosalio. And they would have to watch the recordings and view all the exhibits. The pending receipt of public input, staff does not recommend approval until additional information is provided for review and discussion. Okay, just to announce, we don't have a full contingent here, but anybody who's not here, a commissioner, to be able to vote, will review the record and exhibits and anything you present tonight, and then they will be able to vote. And everybody in the past, everybody's done that when they do come back. Yep. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Jim Rotundo. I'm a licensed professional engineer with Career Engineering, with our offices located in Shelton, Connecticut. Bill Kenny, our soil scientist, unfortunately has an early conflict tonight, so he won't be with me tonight. Just to bring you up to speed, since the last meeting, Bill and I have been collaborating on a plan for stabilization of the East Philly Bank, as recommended in the staff report. We're working on our stabilization plan. Once we have that complete, Bill and I will get together and he'll incorporate plantings. So as I said, that is in progress. Unfortunately, we don't have anything to present to the commission tonight or to show your staff. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I know we presented at the last hearing. We answered questions. I or answer any further questions that the staff may or commission may have.
All right, well then, are you asking then for an extension? Are you giving us an extension of time so that we can put on the next meeting?
We'll give you an yes, we'll grant an extension of time.
And then you'll be able to provide at least some information that, 'cause it sounds like it's just the information we've already seen, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, it's a modification, well, yeah, based on the staff recommendations, we're preparing a bank stabilization plan, and a planting plan, which will be presented.
Commissioners, is there anything else that you might want to ask of the applicant or their representative? Nope. Okay, well, thank you, sir. The public hearing will continue to stay open, I guess, and whatever, you're ready to give something, just give it to the staff and then they'll get it to us.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Moving on to public hearings number 2, WP 24-0117, Salerno, 378 Penfield Road. Map 139, parcel 194. Construction of a new single-family dwelling with swimming pool and associated site improvements within a regulated area. Decision may be made if the hearing is completed or the hearing may be continued. The original 35-day public hearing timeframe to complete the hearing ends on February 12th, 2025. 65-day time extension may be provided by the applicant, so further public hearing continuations to April 18th are possible. Potential continuation date is February 5th, 2025. The hearing is completed, the agency shall make a decision within 35 days. Staff recommends approval with conditions. All right. Who's here? Coming up, sir?
Alexandra Mark is here,
Oh.
representing the client. I will share my PowerPoint presentation.
Okay, we're in a public hearing, so yep, go ahead.
We can move to the first slide. Good evening, Alexandra Mark, Wetlands soil scientist, and today I'm representing the owners of 365 Penfield Road in Fairfield, Connecticut. I think it's the number is kind of wrong here. But anyway, this is the right side, and we can just start from the view from the street. And you can see that on the left-hand side, there is a thick and tall hedge of evergreens, arborvitaes, green giant. Then we have a fence, and then in the back, you have something which is kind of purplish. This is you can actually see the stem here. This is an ornamental Norway maple hybrid, which is the royal red maple, but it's not red. Maple is actually Norway maple family. And then in the front, we have Florida dogwood. Behind it, you can see also some purple leaves. This is a plum or cherry, which is also ornamental. And then behind it, you can see 3 white pines. These are the only trees which we have on our property. And also in the back, we have another kind of green giant, thick and tall hedge of arborvitaes. Oh, sorry. Here's the neighborhood. So here's our site, and you can see those trees again, these 2 ornamental. And here I didn't mention before because I couldn't see it from the street view. It's red maple, which is going to be preserved. Those 2 trees will have to be removed during the construction activities. And those 3 white pines probably we're going to lose 1 or maybe 2. Behind the lot is a elongated wetland area, which is slightly off-site. And this area is dominated by Phragmites. You can see this kind of bluish and greenish color. This is very thick stand of invasive Phragmites. And our immediate neighbor here took in her hand control of arborvitaes, of Phragmites. And you can see that the color and the vegetation here is quite different. It's basically a restoration site, so there are some invasives and not that many native trees, but hopefully along the way, this is going to be restored into a nice wetland habitat. In here is a red maple, just like one we have on this side, and then along we have forsythia bushes, and I don't think there's more arborvitaes, but there's some evergreen hedge here. And excuse me. And here's the wetland. I'm going to show you pictures of the view of the wetland. I was trying to get to this corner to take pictures of this wetland. I was trying not to trespass, but the hedge of the giant arborvitae here was very difficult, and the maple tree here. But I was able to take two pictures. This is the view of the restoration area. As you can see, the stronghold is being taken by the Japanese stilt grass, which is invasive, and there are not that many native herbaceous ground cover here. And behind here, you can see the thick stand of Phragmites, which is kind of past the property line. And this is the hedge, which is the hedge along the here the wetland, which is forgot the name of the shrub, which I mentioned before. Anyway, let's go move to the proposed construction activities. So here's our lot, and what is being proposed is the single-family residence, swimming pool, and driveway over here. As a mitigation measures, we are proposing stormwater management, and we have all those detention units underground shown over here. Here's our stockpile area, and during the construction activities, this whole area is going to be enclosed by silt fence. So this will actually give a little space here and protection. Here's the offsite wetland, and then the silt fence is going to continue towards the street. This is a 200 square foot footprint of the house. The pool is 40 by 20. The overall site is 0.3 acres, as you can see here. And this is within the flood zone. So you can see that the first floor is going to be elevated above 13.6 inches. And the garage is going to be actually almost at the grade, which is 4.6. And this structure also is going to be at grade. There are going to any structures which are, or any areas which are below the flood elevation are going to have flood vents. So they're going to be, the building is going to be constructed, follow the flood regulations and requirements. During the construction activity, we're going to have the anti-tracking pad here to prevent any much tracking to the street. I would like to thank the staff for their thorough review and fair review of our project. And what the request was to create some sort of buffer for the wetland offsite. Actually wasn't some sorts of, but there were certain requirements. So this area is supposed to be 25 feet vegetated, and also continue here 15 foot wide buffer and border demarcation. So I wanted to add all the existing vegetation. So I've shown you the giant arborvitaes, giant green arborvitaes here. So this kind of takes more than 10 feet of the buffer, but we're going to be squeezing one line of shrubs. And then this is a maple, which this whole area is very shaded. So it's going to be really difficult to keep vegetation going, but I was choosing the ones which were resistant to shade. We have some ferns here, and then we have some flowering plants here with low cover, ground cover, and shade tolerant. In here we have some rhododendrons, and we have mountain laurel, and also red orchard dogwood, which is the lighter one. So I hope with the proposed mitigation and the fact that the proposed development is not going to have any impacts on the offsite wetland. Obviously, you're going to probably know right away if anything skips through our line, any siltation, because the neighbor will be calling. The soil and erosion controls will prevent and protect the wetland during the construction activities, and the increase of the stormwater management or the increase of stormwater runoff is going to be detained, and this will address any long-term impacts. The proposed planting plan will mitigate for the tree loss. Only one of them actually is located within the upland review area, and this was the non-native royal red maple. And this is all I have to say, and I'm here to answer your questions.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions, comments?
So this plan that you just presented, does that include the recommendations of Conservation Department?
The planting plan, yes. So these are all native plants, and we planted this. It was asked for 25 here from this wetland, and then 15-foot buffer from the property line. So this will fit those perimeters, and also we'll have the boulder demarcation shown.
So, and then I'll just add to that, so your client would agree to the conditions that were set forth by the staff?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Can we get a chance to comment since we're Andy and I that border the property?
Yep. So this is a public hearing, so right now, would you like to add anything? So you may,
sure. Thank
so
My name is Andy Alcaster. I live at 173 Lally Boulevard.
are you the applicant?
No.
Okay, so just give me 2
I
seconds.
received this letter.
Okay, give me 2 seconds. Okay. Anybody here that's in person that would like to speak in support of this application, please come up. Anybody here that's online that would like to speak in support of this application, please raise your hand or. Alexandra, could you stop sharing your screen, I guess? I don't.
Yes, absolutely.
For now, okay, thank you. All right, nobody's done anything there. Anybody here that'd like to speak in opposition to this application? Please come up and give your name and address for the record, and please state what you got.
Thank you. Not necessarily in opposition, just an awareness, really. I live at 173 Lally Boulevard, which is the property just behind what would be that buffer zone and the plantings.
Okay.
So I want to make sure that both the builder as well as the commission is aware that that area floods ongoing and consistently in any time. I lived there for 25 years. If there's more than 1/3 of an inch of rain, we get ankle deep water, and obviously the more rain, the higher it's got, and it pools there. It can pool there for 3 or 4 days before it dries out and then goes through the next cycle. But that area is clearly a wetland. It's clearly an area that the water moves to and doesn't drain. So my concern with it again is adding a 20 by 40 pool or whatever it might be, and where does the water now just get displaced to? My feeling is it's going to get displaced and create a worse situation that is currently there. And again, I don't know what the wetland concerns are in terms of less wetlands, less places for water to be stored essentially. So I just want to make sure that the commission is aware that that area consistently ongoing is a wetland area that does what a wetland does and holds water when there's too much water for the ground to disperse it properly. I don't see how a large structure would help that situation.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, my name is David Grossner. I live at 110 Quincy Street. So I like my yard backs up pretty close to where Andy's properties are. We border each other.
Sure.
And since we probably have two of the only houses not lifted in the area, flood zone. And as Andy said, everyone knows, I'm a lifelong resident in town, and anywhere between like Millard all the way up to, Paulding all the way up to Quincy, it's impassable, most rain issues. I know the town has tried to put in more catch basins. It's partially alleviated the problem, but unless you live there, you have no idea what it's like. And any decent rain, as Andy said, between my backyard, his backyard, the next house next to Andy, I'm not sure exactly what that house is on Lally, etc. Our backyards become a pond for an extended period of time, not 3 or 4 days. So I worry because I have a basement and there is no place for the water to go. I have the smallest house in the area, and yet these big houses keep getting built, and the water, as Andy said, the water has to go somewhere. So like, I would want to have some comfort that this isn't going to just shove more water and deeper water into my backyard. It's not going to inconvenience this mammoth property. It's more of an issue to us who've been there forever. that people buy little capes, they build these monsters, and then we're kind of left with a problem. And I can't deal with another storm Sandy filling in my basement because water gets dispersed from a neighbor's pool. Because right now, those two properties have been vacant since prior to 2020, and we still have huge amounts of water. I mean, there's pictures my kids have taken and other people have taken in the backyard, and I have a dog, he came to go outside when the water comes, it just becomes literally between my house, Andy's house, the next house, the next house, it is a pond where she was showing on that map. It's a pond for an extended period of time. And imagine you guys, you get some rain in the summer and you really can't use your backyard, and we live in the beach area because of this. And it's only just gonna get worse at this property, and then there's a vacant property in the corner, which is just gonna even make this even more difficult. The houses that were there were normal size and we still had an issue, and now we've got a house that's going up in much larger size. And obviously we came today just to say, like, you guys are the experts in terms of wetlands, but also you understand water better than anyone and what it can do. And, you know, we're just trying to protect our property. We haven't done anything to change our footprint for 20, 30 years each in this area. It's just the bigger houses, everyone wants a pool. And everyone around us has a pool, but us. And so it's just been, we just wanted to voice our concern that this pond that we knew the wetlands had been there since I was a kid, or 100 years before that, that these houses weren't like this 50 years ago. So we just wanted to express that we're just concerned, and I don't want to come back to the committee or to that neighbor in a year and say, I've got water in my basement because of you, and they say it's not my problem. The commission approved this. But thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Sandra, like,
Yeah.
Can I respond to it? So I'm sorry to hear that you are being flooded, but this is a recognized flood zone, and this is the area which is being flooded periodically. Also, I would like to go back to my previous slide very quickly, which is going to actually show nicely the whole neighborhood again. So let's go to this slide. And you can see that I think one of the one of the property, well, I don't have, I think, those two neighbors here. But first of all, this is a large area which is being flooded, actually has standing water. That's why Phragmites likes this area so much for a period of time, especially during the wet season. So this is like the source of fluctuating groundwater table. And then this whole neighborhood is within the flood zone. So this area is going to be again flooding, and the property the house which we're building is going to have flood vents, means that it's not going to take any of the flood storage capacity, and the pool is going to be flat, so means that also this is not going to be an obstruction. So during the flood, when you have flood vents, basically the water is being filling your basement or the area underneath the house without any obstruction. So this house, actually, I wanted to show you what was there before. I have one slide too. So here's what was there in 2016. So this is the property. I think this area was subdivided. This was fairly large house at this site, and also there was some sort of shed in the corner. Here's the wetland area. So there was an existing structure before, so it's not something new and something additional. The advantage of our proposal is that our house, again, is going to be lifted, so it's not going to take any of the flood storage capacity from the area. So comparing to the old house, it's going to actually improve. So I don't see any impact from our development on the neighborhood. And on the top of it, we also have stormwater management. We have large infiltration system, two of them, which is going to be collecting the water and sending it to the ground. And this is a higher area. This area doesn't flood. So it is going to, overall, this development is going to help the neighborhood. It's not going to make the story worse.
You mentioned compacting the soils while you're working, but I'm not clear how you're going to mitigate that.
So usually the compacted soil is being mitigated by adding compost and topsoil. So any organic material which is being added to the compacted soil makes miracles, because there's a lot of microbes which expand then the compacted soil, loosen it up, and actually work through the soil, and the organic matter is being absorbed. So this is the best way to address compacted soil. But also the compacted soil, which most likely is going to happen along the axis. That's the area where we're going to put our infiltration system. So even though the shallow layer may be a little bit compacted when we're going to excavate to put the infiltrations in, this also is going to be loosened up, and I don't see this having any significant or visible impact in terms of flooding on the neighborhood.
Can I ask a question?
Hold on for just a minute. Sure. Commissioners, any other comments or questions to Alexander? Thank you, Alexander. Yes, sir.
Alexander, this might be directed to you, but I guess my
To me, and then, yep.
I understand what you're saying about the housing. I'm not a builder. I just live in that neighborhood. I know that it floods when it rains. This is not a flood. So I think the question here is, we're not talking about a Sandy. That's obvious. We're talking about rain causing ponding. It's innocuous. You might not even be aware of it. But when it rains, that area, has ankle deep water for 300 yards. So I want to make that clear, that we're not talking about a flood situation. Doesn't have to happen in order for water to show up there. But the second piece, I'm just curious how you guys evaluate, even if the house is lifted, the pool structure obviously sits significantly underground. And how does that play into where the water?
There are calculations that those folks have to give us based on a certain number of years, 2 years, 10 years, and they have to give us those calculations, and if they fit within those calculations, that's how we do our analysis.
And I would suggest that she's right, the forward part of that property is less prone to flooding. So within the design, that might be a consideration.
Even though the footprint of the building itself is going to be a pad.
Yeah.
I believe what she's saying is that the water, it's not gonna increase general water that would be there now.
And also talking about the pool, if I can add, every pool has 4 inches of freeboard. This is the difference between the top of the pool, when pool is totally full, and the regular level of the pool. So this is the additional 4 inches of storage, which during the storm events are going to help to alleviate flooding.
I mean, we're bound by the 2 and 10 year
Yeah.
experience of flooding. Now, whether or not that's adequate is another question. That's a regulatory issue that needs to be addressed via another body, but
Sure, you have your criteria to make decisions.
You're saying if I walk down the street after rain, I'm not walking, it doesn't look that much, but behind your house, you got, that's one of the, you said a third of an inch, which isn't much.
Penfield Road, I'm
down there all the time, and I don't personally see contradicting in any way what you're saying.
Just the last rain,
Confirming that it's
yes.
a serious problem.
Well, I mean, again, not a serious problem if there's nothing there. It's a wetland, functioning as a wetland.
Always,
If there's building there, then it becomes a serious problem.
yeah, we just, in our the backyard that Andy has and I have, I can, like I said, neither of us are lifted, so we're sort of like stuck with this grass in our backyard, providing all we can against this. And our fences are all beautiful stockade fences, and the water flows under. There's no we're not keeping water in or out. It's all just free flowing. So if you're in my second floor or Andy's second floor and you look out, you'll see the 4 or 5 backyards that become a pond, and then it just takes whatever the time happens. And we're saying a couple of inches of rain, you can't walk down Penfield Road because everything just ends up in the middle of the road between where I'm on Quincy, from Quincy past these 2 vacant lots that we're talking about, one here, 3 or 4 houses down, it's
And I would appreciate that. I appreciate all of that. We understand your situation. So we deal with the wetlands issue and within certain areas of that property. I was just handed one of the reports or statements of consistency that goes when something like this is presented to us, it goes to all other departments as well. And the town planning and zoning committee department, they had issues that are really similar to yours that they will have to address. So even though we're dealing with the wetlands part of it, the pool part and the ponding and all of that, they still have to deal with that with town planning and zoning. And part of my understanding is part of our conditions, they have to comply or deal with any negative report. So as of right now, from November 14th, 2024, the town plan and zoning department says that their plan doesn't is inconsistent with the town's rules. So these things have already addressed that. So Alexandra, are you aware of the November 14th town plan and zoning statement of inconsistency?
Yes, I've seen that. Yes, they support the development, yes.
And that is something that you guys are gonna be addressing?
Yes,
So I mean,
Are
it's,
we made aware of, since she's gonna be there, can she tell us the date and time so we can,
for what?
for that meeting to discuss those concerns?
Here you.
well, we'll have to notify all the neighbors, so you will know.
That's a different, they're not going to build tomorrow. They got more approvals to get from other departments.
And you'll get a notice for each
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay,
There's
Alright, well, thank you
certain
for your time.
departments that they have to go.
Publicly,
yeah, it's all, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else here that would like to speak in opposition or online? All right, so you wanna close the public hearing on this one? Vote now, or do you wanna move on?
How much time do we have?
Oh, we got plenty of time. We can do it next month if you want, the next meeting. Okay, that's fine. So then,
I think as a courtesy to kind of digest,
sure.
I don't think I don't think it's much.
And just the
I
whole
don't think
thing
there's a
open.
need for that. I think everybody was aware. But
Well,
in terms of the decision, I just wanted, I just would like to.
The only thing I was thinking, close the public hearing, people who, the
The-
commissioners who aren't here, can they then
That's a good
ask
point.
questions? Public hearing is closed though.
No, they wouldn't do it.
We should leave it open just because it would give them the opportunity to, yeah,
I like that idea better.
There's plenty of time.
yeah.
I mean, it's said here, we have until February 12th, so that's.
That's why
more than
Kate is
plenty of
here
time.
to kind of check my excesses.
There you
No,
go.
no,
All right, so
we're all
we'll
here to check each
we're all
other.
here.
just
They're
continue
all-
Oh, gotcha.
the whole way.
Takes a village.
To the next meeting. Leave the public hearing open, continue.
Got it.
Okay, now we're moving on to number 3, W3-24-0134. The Huntington Company, 1163 Sasko Hill Road, map 239, parcel 7D. Construction of single-family residence with swimming pool, patios, retaining walls, and associated site improvements within a regulated area. Decision may be made if the hearing is completed. The hearing may be continued. The original 35-day public hearing timeframe to complete the hearing ends on February 12th, 2025, and a 65-day time extension may be provided by the applicant. So further public hearing continuations to April 18th, 2025, possible. A potential continuation date is February 5th, 2025. If the hearing is completed, the agency shall make a decision within 35 days. Pending receipt of public input, staff does not recommend approval until additional information is provided for review and discussion. And we see counsel here. Hello, sir.
Chair, Commissioners, good to be before you. Happy New Year. Chris Russo with Russo and Rizzio LLC offices at 10 Sasko Hill Road in Fairfield. Here with Chair Vincenta, with Artemis Landscape Architects, for a property that I ate, slept, breathed for rather 2 years, better part of 2 years, back in 2021. Many of you may recall this property. Some of you were on the commission back then, I think. This was the subdivision of 1143 Sasko Hill Road. was formerly the Regal property that sits at the very end of Sasko Hill Road near Sasko Beach. This is for single-family development now in accordance with that for one of the lots that was created with that subdivision, Lot 5. It borders the western side of that property. It's not the property with the boathouse. That's the property next door to it. But right now, it's a vacant parcel. One of the nice things about this, it's fairly unique for me. I don't think I've had many applications where I've proposed to disturb the wetlands, but I don't think I've had any applications where we're proposing not to disturb any of the regulated area either. There's no disturbance here proposed within your regulated area. So neither the wetlands nor the regulated area. So it's a bit unique for those circumstances. But just to go through some of the history of this property, and because there was a lot of protections put in for the coastline and the wetland that exists. It's actually off-site, this wetlands. It's on the property to the north of us. And it also covers the regulated area. So back, I think it was 98, 99, Catherine Regal granted a conservation restriction to Aspetuck Land Trust. It went the entire length of the coastline. It totaled 7 acres, roughly 7 acres, I believe. And it was a significant conservation restriction. It covers almost all of the regulated area that you see here. That prevented mainly building on the within the conservation restriction, placing a house in the conservation restriction. Aside from, of course, the boathouse, which was existing. In addition, there was a prior wetlands approval. I don't remember when the original one was, but one of the things that occurred during that wetlands approval was there was a boulder demarcation that you could kind of see here that was put around the wetland as kind of a, do not pass line. So that existed before the subdivision. And then we came in, I think it was 2020, 2021, we came in for the 7-lot subdivision. And with that, a couple things happened. We came before you again to show all the subdivision improvements, and also how the lots would lay out and how the houses would lay out. So, obviously the intention was that at some point we would be before you like we are tonight, proposing a single family dwelling. And then the other thing was separately, the owner at the time worked with this Aspetuck Land Trust to further buffer, or I should say really kind of increase some of the measures that were in the conservation restriction that already existed. So there was an upland meadow area that was proposed to be expanded, and so that was done in addition as well. So through all that, the wetland and the regulated area have really had layers and layers of protection put on. Subdivision was obviously approved, and the road was put in, and now the lots are being developed. The original house has been renovated, and you may have seen there was an accessory, I'll call it a barn building, but it's about twice the size of my house, so it's a little bit different than a normal barn. But that was torn down, and now you're probably seeing there's construction going on. That's the lot that's closest to Sasko Beach. Now we're here with another lot, again, lot 5, proposed for a single family dwelling. And you can see it laid out here. And just to kind of show you the lines that you're seeing here. So the wetland is down here, again, off-site. It's on the lot to the north of us. Then here's the regulated area. And this gray area is the conservation restriction to Aspetuck. So everything is out, everything that's being proposed as far as disturbance outside this regulated area. The house and all these improvements are outside the conservation restriction. So not only are we outside the regulated area, we're actually a bit of distance from the regulated area as well. It's a single family home. It's compliant with all the zoning regulations.
Yeah, silly question. Yeah. Maybe, and you can correct me because And why are you here?
Well, that's kind of your determination. I mean, I would agree. If there's nothing proposed in a regulated area, I don't believe there's regulated activity. There is obviously a significant amount of site disturbance that's happening.
At a
but-
higher elevation.
Sorry?
Sorry, at
At a higher elevation, correct.
As we're walking down, it kind of goes down.
There's a steep drop there.
Like the elevation is.
There's a significant change there, and that's why, so the barn, it's 25 feet, 2,500.
Yeah.
So that's why where the barn was, if you've driven by it, there's already a retaining wall there. That also had a steep grade change. So the same thing is happening here where we're putting in a retaining wall. So yeah, I mean, Chair, I mean, that is again under your purview because it's really, we don't think we submitted a grading plan and to show how we don't feel that anything we're proposing is going to impact the wetlands. We've located the stormwater management system on the complete opposite side of where the regulated area is. Tara's here because she submitted an extensive planting plan, but again, that's not happening within the regulated area.
And then this easement area, is that a conservation, town conservation, or is it Aspetuck?
So, yeah, so there's,
Who's dealing with that?
There's a lot of people, so it's covered multiple ways.
Okay.
There's Aspetuck has the right with regards to conservation restriction in that area. You also have authority over this area, but I will tell you, when we submitted for the wetlands approval, we submitted a plan that included areas even beyond where we said we were, the upland meadow was gonna be expanded. There was invasive species in here, so there was a management plan that was put in with regards to that. So we're bound by that approval and the requirements under that. In addition, the town of Fairfield has an open space restriction that they require under their subdivision regulations. They require a certain amount to be dedicated for open space. That's actually this hash that's here. And the reason when we went through that subdivision process, the reason we did that was because if for some reason Aspetuck ever went under for some reason and didn't transfer, it's an extremely rare, I don't think it'll ever happen. But the town wanted something that was on top of that wouldn't matter if Aspetuck was around, it'd be protected. But again, that I don't see any situation where that would really realistically happen. So the answer to the question is the Aspetuck does, you do through your prior approvals, and the town does.
But Aspetuck manages it.
Aspetuck, not necessarily. There's a conservation restriction that doesn't enable us to do something. So for instance, if somebody didn't pay attention and they just were like, oh, I'm gonna put a barn here, Aspetuck could sue them for violating the restriction.
What
But they're not actively managing it.
Right, no, I just mean.
And we do have,
Right.
and we do have, as part of that management plans for maintaining the meadow area.
Commissioner, you had it.
So I'm a little confused about the concrete galleries that you have over here on that corner, right there. So,
Sorry for that.
so that's conservation easement?
No, so that
That's
is,
Aspetuck land.
that's
Okay,
Aspetuck.
that's what I just wanted to clarify,
Right.
okay.
And
But
there's
it actually says in, sorry, I
Yeah,
don't.
no, you got it, she's right.
But it does say within the restriction that it does allow for the installation and construction of drainage underground drainage there.
Okay, I just wanted
It
to
was allowed
clarify,
under-
that's what my understanding was, that was asked, but just.
Right, so you could put that, but you couldn't do, again, you couldn't put like a barn in there. And there was also restricting it to one dock, there was a bunch of different things.
There's that old case that says if there's a regulated area on the property, then that's the whole property or something like that. But
That case is from the 90s. I think it's been whittled down. I mean, honestly, because I just wrote a brief on this matter, on an inland wetlands issue. it is completely outside the regulated area. So in our opinion, your authority over it would be diminished. But, again, there's obviously a lot happening over here. And so I understand taking a look at it, but
Maybe just for, erosion control measures.
right, which we do, we have Huntington Company who did the subdivision with me. Silt fencing shown here and some measures. I know staff recommended some measures as well to add to that, which we would have no issue with as a condition.
No, I will. I think we're gonna talk about grading next, correct? Yeah.
So we don't have a lot of jurisdiction here anyway. My concern about a house of this size on the coast, next to wildlife and next to an open space would be the impact of light pollution coming from the house itself. And would be nice if the homeowners would be willing to adhere to dark skies compliance in their lighting and use intelligent lighting principles, the 5 principles of responsible lighting. In lighting, I can't impact it, I can't make it, it's a suggestion.
I can certainly suggest it to them. And luckily, one of the nice things, again, before this, subdivision got developed, is that there was these measures in place that, ensured, and I'm sure that was Catherine Regal's obvious,
I just don't want to
original
see
intent.
Las Vegas,
Yeah, up there, lighting them up, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I get you.
Ma'am, I think, can we hear some more about the plantings and
Oh,
what?
sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm Tara Vincenta of Artemis Landscape Architects, and I developed the site plan along with Shevlin, and so we did work on the grading and determined all of what you see here, as well as we did an extensive planting plan for the property. Everything that is on grade, so below the walls, you see here, is all primarily native. So there are, with a few exceptions, there are a few grass species which are not native. We are outside the regulated area, so my opinion is that they don't have to be, but I would certainly be willing to, look at substituting out, especially the Pennisetum Hamlin, maybe for some little blue stem or Nucella or something like that. So, but otherwise, it's intended to be a meadow-like planting that also will help soften the heights of these walls. So visually, the planting is intended to really create something that is beautiful to look at from the beach, from down below, and from anybody who might encounter it. So we have used serviceberry trees, which are native and salt tolerant, as our sort of anchoring tree along the wall. This will also stay at a height, so it's serving 2 purposes. It's not going to block the owner's view of the water over time, but it's going to completely cover the height of the walls. So we thought that was really important. And then it's underplanted with large sweeps of native plantings, including Panicum virgatum, asters, and then clusters also at the bottom of the walls of bayberry and inkberry. So we've used kind of a couple of evergreen and semi-evergreen plantings to ensure that in all seasons it will have appeal. The reedgrass happens to be another favorite of mine. It's not native, but it does grow very tall, and so it's placed up against the wall. But all of these again are really outside of the regulated area and just really blend well with the meadow. We also including some conservation meadow mix as you come down off of the walls, and there's a path that goes down to the water. So we are using a portion where we're not necessarily planting with perennials, but we're just blending that conservation area up with native meadow.
Wildflower seeds. or
Yes, yeah.
a Mix, so I much appreciate the inkberry as opposed to boxwood. That's always a nice
Yes.
nice replacement. What about food source for wildlife? The seedings and
Yeah, we've got,
berries and
we've got black-eyed Susans on here. And we have Baby Joe pieweed, which also has nice seed heads. And also, the bayberry is a wonderful
food source, yeah.
food source as well, yeah. So I think, and as well, also the serviceberry attracts a lot of birds and things, so. So I think it's a pretty, very robust planting. That takes into consideration, the native areas below. Questions? Other
The meadow mix, are you looking at sedge as well as grasses?
It's, right now, it's just called out for a native, conservation mix, which we
It's a
can
mix of
it's
different
a mixture of
sources.
grasses, yeah.
Cause I just worry about slowing down water, sedge is always
Sure.
just slowing down the speed of water, and you are on a slope.
Right, and that is basically the area where the drainage system is going to be too. So that'll be the meadow area.
And you don't need to mow it, which is.
Exactly, we'll make sure that it includes hedges.
Okay.
No, you go ahead. I would have a quick question just for staff. So did the grading issues that were addressed in the recommendations, did you get more detailed stuff?
That's where I was going
Oh.
next. Did you see the staff's recommendation?
Yes, we did. So I guess what happened is there's a Huntington Company submitted a grading plan which referenced a plan by Artemis that had some, I think, spot grading on it. It had some additional.
It's what you received from Huntington is largely the same as our plan. So we're working in concert with the engineer, so we developed the concept for the grading so that we could understand what we wanted for driveway grades and minimizing steps into the house and everything for the homeowner. So all the spot elevations that we developed here, Huntington transferred onto their plan. And so it's largely the same,
But
but we're happy to submit.
Yeah, well, there was a note that that referenced the Artemis plan, and so we submitted that yesterday, though. We had only originally submitted the Huntington grading plan.
So if we were to, do you have a copy of this, the four recommendations?
Yes.
If we can go through them, that would be helpful. So, sure, would you be able to, was your client okay with the request for National Diversity Database, data listed species review, Connecticut, confirm what aquatics, domestic and other obligate species may be adversely impacted by the proposed project? Is that something?
We have no problem submitting. I think I successfully submitted it today.
Okay.
That system's a little tough to follow, but I think I'm pretty sure I got it.
Maybe it's easier, if you've seen these, is your client okay with these?
Yeah, because we did submit the detailed grading spot grades. We submitted that yesterday. I think that should have everything.
Today was the aquatic, the grading was today, so, okay.
And then the non-native species, yeah, I mean, Tara just explained that, I think, but we're comfortable if the commission wants to change it. She kind of gave her reasons for why she included what she did. And then the details for retaining walls, it usually comes during the building permit phase. I think we usually submit
I
them.
believe the architect has a letter from the engineer that they're gonna be developing,
In accordance with the building code.
right, and stamp those.
Yeah.
So that
So I
could
don't
be
know.
something that we can review
Okay.
prior to signing the building.
Go ahead, Simon.
Our bigger concern was the NDDB, not knowing what species of concern need to be considered during construction phasing. That we can't really opine on certain things until we know what species we're dealing with.
So you hopefully submitted it successfully today. Do you get something back
I
from them?
do,
And then you can give that to them?
yes.
Okay, great. So
Yeah,
that,
the state's usually turning around in about 2 weeks.
oh, perfect, okay, then that's good. Yeah. Any commissioners, any
I
further
don't think
questions?
it came up, just so you know, I don't, when I did the subdivision, I don't think there was anything flagged when we did that. But I don't know, I know it wasn't part of the process for a year.
Yeah, it wasn't a requirement.
It wasn't a requirement at that time, but I don't remember anything coming up.
Well, and I should also state, when we went and did to see it that morning, I think it was kind of chilly that morning.
Yes.
Always.
Cold as tonight.
We weren't quite sure what we were looking at, because there's no, I think the lot next door had flags and markings, but then we realized that wasn't the lot. This one was just clear and open, and we were kind of confused at why are we looking at it?
Okay.
So just, but now I think it makes more sense. There's nothing to flag, maybe, other than maybe the wetland review area could have had an area
Yeah,
that would have been it.
The extent of it, yeah, because the wetlands isn't on our.
Right, so that makes more sense, but, okay, probably continue it to the next meeting.
Just to review that, yeah. Okay, that's fine.
I just wanted to add, would your client be willing to do a double silt fence, just considering the change in elevation?
Sure, I could talk to them about it, and I don't see why.
As an added protection
Sure.
to the,
Oh, yeah.
downgrade and into the water.
Thank you, appreciate it, council. Thank you. Is there anybody else, that's here? Like to come up and speak in support of this application? Anybody online that would like to speak in support of this application? Is Mike with you on this one?
Yeah, Mike Paterla, Mike Shevlin, a lot of the people on there with us.
Okay, but you took care of it though, right? Okay,
Yeah, I think so.
then that's fine. Anybody here that'd like to speak in opposition to this application? Come up and give your name and address, please.
My name is Robert Cardello. I'm the architect for the line next door, 1169. It's probably the lot that you saw the flags on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like these guys a lot, so I'm not technically in
Please
position.
have a seat and,
Um,
sure, that's okay, that's, you don't have to, or just any concerns, whatever there might be.
My client and I share the same concern, which is the retaining wall. Are you aware of the grade change there?
Yeah, that's what
That's why
what
we're,
talking
yeah,
about,
that's
yeah.
what we're, yeah,
That's
we're
what
waiting on
mostly
that.
concerned with, yeah.
Okay,
16, there's a 25 and there's a 16-foot retain.
18 foot vertical. retaining- I
No,
know-
60.
There's a section at 18, I think, at least on the plan I saw. But
Okay, whether it's 16 or 18, there's a wall. that's gonna
plantings, it's gotta be really hard to disguise that from the beach. Pretty aggressive plan. We were hoping that, we could talk about it, maybe discuss breaking it up a little bit, pulling it back. It's only, I think you mentioned you pulled it away from that conservation area. And how far did you pull it?
At the closest point, it's 2 feet off of the conservation line to allow for footings for the wall there.
Okay.
Okay, but we also, prior to even submitting the plan, we met with zoning and we asked them about the height of the walls and they didn't have a problem with it. So that's why
I agree. I don't,
So folks, just tell me everything you have issues with and then I'll let them respond in their due course. I don't want this back and forth.
Sure.
So just-
I think I just wanted to say that that retaining wall is pretty big.
Large, yeah.
So I guess I would, my client and I were hoping that, there might be a way to soften that a little bit more. Because it just seems pretty aggressive to just create your own backyard off the back of this pretty big house and then have this pretty, like, as an architect myself, like, that's a big retaining wall. I don't even know how sure there's a way, but engineering a wall like that is gonna be technical.
Okay, well, that's good information to.
What do you mean by soften? Can you?
Right now there is, put in some planting beds in front of the retaining wall in sections. And I think, I don't know how deep they are, 2 or 3 feet maybe, but if those were staggered a little deeper, so you can get real plantings in there, just to soften that vertical surface. As one example, like that would be kind of a nice thing.
Like larger species have a
Yeah.
variety of height and.
Right, just to kind of take away from that sheer wall effect that I think is gonna be there from the beach, like it's gonna be very obvious.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway, that's it.
Is that what, that was?
That's it. Otherwise, they look forward to being neighbors and the house is beautiful and I love Chris and it's gonna be great.
No, listen, nobody should get upset about anything. That's what this whole process is for, to figure it out. And that's gonna prompt a question that I'm gonna ask Chris in a few seconds.
Sounds good.
What, in the east, that easement area, what are you allowed to do?
Nothing, like for instance, the stormwater.
Can you stagger that, like make it a level, so it's not one giant 18 or 16?
It's staggered, there are 2 8-foot walls. Generally speaking.
Do you want to point that out? Can you point that out here?
So I can point out,
We're talking the 16-foot.
There's
Usually when you look
there's-
at it, it will look that tall, or is it one giant 16-foot tall wall?
no. So, I don't know if Bob completely understands, but I'm happy to explain it.
Make me understand it, then I'll make you understand.
So, where are my notes here? So, as you're looking at this, I'm gonna hold this up.
Yeah, hold this up.
As you're looking at these walls below the pool here, the only section that is 16, it's actually 16.5 feet, is this one section right in here. So you go from elevation 24 to 32, which is 8. And then from there, you go 8.5 feet up from here to here. We do have a 3-foot wide planting bed in between, which is, you can get a pretty big root ball in a 3-foot area. So we have sizable shrubs that are gonna be going into this second tiered level. This level down here, the wall is 6 feet, and then it's 4 feet, and then it's 8 feet. Over here, the wall is 8 feet, and then this is 8.5, and then as you get over to here, this is basically just a 2 to 3 foot wall. Also, as you come in this direction, the wall diminishes. It goes from 8 to 6
That's naturally because of the grade.
because of the grades here. So the wall here, along here, gets shallower as you go in this direction. But the wall is consistently 8 feet high between these 2 levels with a layer of planting. And we did some pretty nice renderings also that show, what that would look like and how robustly it's really planted there
So
to soften those tiers.
those plants, the planting plan that's in that area there.
Right.
Okay. All right, so at least that's now on the record. So that's.
And we talked with zoning, I actually talked to Matt Decker today to go over the retaining wall and that it's compliant. And he said, yeah, and so essentially, if we were to get approval from this commission, we then move forward to.
Okay, I mean, that's kind of outside of.
Right, no, I know.
And in the tallest parts is where we are planning to plant trees at a 14-foot height to begin with. Okay, so then if the wall is 16 and the plants are 14.
Yeah, give it a year.
Yeah, have a nice cover.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Can I add something to that? I'm Chris Pagliaro, I'm the architect.
He's with our.
Oh, sure, yes, please.
Sorry, Christopher Pagliaro, Architects, Darien, Connecticut. I don't know, and forgive me if this was previously mentioned, but there is a reason that we have the pool at that elevation, and that is that our client is handicapped and can't navigate stairs. So it's been a balancing act in being able to accommodate the level of the pool to the level of the house, and we approached the design by lowering the house from the street as far down as we possibly could and still keep the driveway safe. So the first floor of the house is below the street level to begin with. And then the rest of it just comes down to what the slope was. But we had to keep the pool at the elevated level near the house because she cannot navigate the stairs. I just wanted to get that on the record.
Thank you for doing so.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions or comments? All right. Anybody else? Anybody have anything to say about anything? On this? No? Okay.
That was dangerous thing to
I know.
say.
Yeah, we'll continue this. The public hearing stays open and we'll continue it to next month. And council will provide whatever he gets to staff.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Council.
Thank you.
Commissioners, appreciate it.
You don't want to appear that kind of opening.
In the context of what we were doing.
Say about anything.
Sorry. All right, that takes care of public hearings. We are now moving on to Rule 5, applications for discussion. Number 1, continued WP-24-0087. Akmatov and Tina, 2560 Congress Street, map 1 parcel 1A. Relocation of a pipe, water course, and construction of an addition. Associated site work within a regulated area. Public hearing closed December 4th, 2024. The agency shall make a decision within 35 days on or before January 8th, 2025. Commissioners eligible to vote: Lucas Thomas, Daphne Bowen, Jay Fain, Peter Hood, Cato Mahoney, Ted Luxinger, Diane Saunders. Commissioners that were not present, so that doesn't matter. And staff recommends approval with conditions. Commissioners, any thoughts, any comments? No? Any motions to approve with staff conditions?
Make a motion to approve with staff recommendation.
Okay, any second to that? Ted Luxinger, so is Diane, I'm sorry. It was Dabney and then Ted seconds to approve with conditions. All in favor? Aye, and that's all around. Excellent. Moving on to number 2, under applications for discussion, is declaratory ruling. The Pilot House Special Needs Resource Foundation, Inc., 1230 and 1260 Merwin Lane, map 220 parcel 11 and 12, requests to allow deposition of asphalt millings to create parking areas within a regulated area. Staff recommends denial of the declaratory ruling petition. Okay. Good evening.
How are you?
Good.
Happy New Year to you.
Same.
So, my name is Rob Bolito. I am an attorney with the firm of Willinger, and Busey. We're located at 1000 Bridgeport Avenue, Suite 501 in Shelton. We represent the petitioner, the Pilot House. With me here tonight is my colleague, attorney Carolyn Lenosi from the firm. Doreen Caruso, you know, is the president of the Pilot House, and also Bill Kenny was able to make it for our little soiree here, so he's here as well. So, what is before you here tonight is a petition for a declaratory ruling for proposed activity or use which should be considered as of right due to Connecticut General Statute Section 1.1Q and Inland Wetlands Regulation Section 4.1A. And this is regarding the farm at 1230 and 1260 Merwin Lane. So just a very brief context about the Pilot House so you know who you're dealing with. Pilot House is a not-for-profit organization that serves special needs individuals ranging in ages from 2 to 84. These are people who suffer from anxiety, autism, cerebral palsy, traumatic brain injury, things of that nature. And I do want to point out that the Pilot House is a valued not-for-profit partner with the town of Fairfield. And that's evidenced by the fact that the town has included the Pilot House in the annual not-for-profit budget. And I know this because I served on the Board of Finance here many years ago, beginning in 2007, was on for 6 years. And during that time, Doreen Caruso and Pilot House were before us every year. Then, as now, the town values having a public-private partnership with organizations that provide services for the citizens of the town that the town may not necessarily provide. The way that they offer services to their patrons is through farming. They offer therapeutic riding for its clients to learn leadership skills, gain confidence, and practice impulse control. They care for the horses, care for the livestock, and grooming and feeding of the horses and goats and chickens and different animals there. Also, the clients learn vocational aspects of planting, growing, and selling farm produce, cultivating vegetables, herbs, and eggs, which also teaches about healthy eating, which improves mental health of the clients. So I just wanted to give you that background so you know who the Pilot House is in case you didn't know. Now, we are here for a declaratory ruling that this is a farm. And per section 4.1A of the regulations and Connecticut General Statutes, section 22A-40A1 and 1-1Q, this is a farm. The statute and the regulations cite that a farm is where there's raising or harvesting of agricultural or horticultural commodities. In addition, raising, shearing, feeding, caring for, training, and management of livestock, including horses, fur-bearing animals, and wildlife. And also the operation, management, conservation, improvement, or maintenance of the farm and its buildings, tools, and equipment. If you've seen the farm, there are, as soon as you pull into place, there are horses, there are goats, there are chickens. There is a greenhouse where farm produce is grown. There's also a garden area where in the summertime these plants are moved in order to grow and produce different vegetables and produce. Now, town's regulations and Connecticut General Statutes 22A-40A1 sets forth the uses that are permitted in wetlands as of right. This includes grazing, farming, nurseries, gardening, and harvesting of crops. Now, there are some exceptions. It does not include clear cutting of timber. In the memorandum provided by Mr. Bishop, he said he agrees that there was no clear cutting that occurred here. It also doesn't include road construction or buildings not directly related to the farming operation. Now, in this case, the roads that are there, which also pre-existed the Pilot House's ownership of the property, are directly related to the farming operation. It provides a means of ingress and egress for farm vehicles or delivery vehicles that bring grain and bring hay, also for the removal of horse manure, also for garbage collection. So this area is absolutely used by the farm equipment on site and for deliveries and things happening off site. So he also talks about you can't fill or reclaim wetlands or water courses with continual flow. So I'd like to address this. Filling is not a defined term in the inland wetlands regulations of the town, nor is it a defined term in state statute. So where there is a lack of legislative clarity, you need to turn to the courts. And there is a case from 2006. I have copies of the case with the chairman's permission. I could pass it out in a moment. And this was a case in Hartford, Sackler versus the Inland Wetlands Agency of the town of Woodbridge. And this was a horse farm where there were fillings in wetlands area. And the judge, Thomas Cordino, in this case, talked about with filling that he was going to use the common English usage of the word because of the fact that there's no statutory definition. And he actually cited the dictionary, two of them, in fact. He said that filling is, quote, to put into as much as can be held, load completely, make full. That's from the American Heritage Dictionary. And then Webster says, to supply with as much as can be held or contained. So the court has basically provided a definition of what filling is. So turning back to Merwin's Lane and the farm, what happened here? There was a top dressing of millings that were put onto an existing base of wood chips. This is not in any way, shape, or form a putting as much as can be held or loading completely. They could have put more fillings there. They just did enough to basically make the area more stable and also to, reduce the risk of flooding. The should also be pointed out that this area, the parking area, which Mr. Bishop cites in his memorandum, it is used for farming purposes. There is a garden by the entryway that has to be accessed by the on-site farm equipment. This is where the plants are grown. And in order to access that garden, this area is needed. In addition, as I mentioned, there are delivery vehicles that use the area for ingress and egress and also for turning around, because if you're familiar with Merwin's Lane, it's a narrow road in some spots. And when a truck pulls in delivering hay, it's not practical or safe for them to back out onto Merwin's Lane in order to turn the vehicle around. This area, the parking area, is used to provide a turnaround area so the trucks can go straight out onto Merwin's Lane safely. Also, there are staff parking spaces, not striped spaces, but there's a staff parking area that is used by the full-time staff of the pilot house. In addition, there is parking for parents. So when the clients come, these are people who have, autism and Asperger's and things like that. Their parents are on the site with them when they come for the services. And also they would have a support person with them. So they remain on campus while the clients are working the farm. So this area is absolutely essential to the operation of the farm because the clients are the ones who work the farm. They feed the animals, they care for the animals, they grow the plants. So the clients who are there are the ones who work the farm. I also wanted to address a couple of items that were in Mr. Bishop's memorandum. Specifically, he differentiates between business clients and farming purpose. And I want to remind the commission that this is a non-for-profit farm. It is not a commercial enterprise. It is not a for-profit enterprise. It is a nonprofit farm. The very reason for this place's existence is to serve the clients and have them be working the farm in order to gain these skills that are necessary for them. So to say that the space is used for business clients, with due respect to Mr. Bishop, I disagree with that. The clients who are there are the people who work the farm. They are the ones who receive the services that the pilot house offers. So I also want to point out that there are fundraisers that happen 2 or 3 times a year on site, and that could be viewed as a business purpose. However, the lifeblood of this organization are the patrons who support it, the patrons who attend these fundraisers. As a not-for-profit organization, they are dependent for the very existence on the people who come to these fundraisers, see the facilities, interact with the clients who work there, see the animals, and hopefully write a check. So I would argue that the fundraisers that happen are just as much a farming operation as grooming the horses and growing tomatoes. The farm would cease to exist without these patrons and without these fundraisers. So I also wanted to mention that there were approximately, I believe, 20 letters of support for the pilot house that were emailed to you, I believe, today. So you have those to look at in terms of, people who recognize the great work that this organization does. With that, I will open it up to any questions you might have.
Sure. Very good. Could you define, what do you mean by commodities?
So a commodity is a product. It is something that you sell. So in this case, and Doreen, you can correct me if I'm wrong, there is produce that is grown and it is basically delivered to a third party that sells it. Is that correct?
So what we have developed is we're trying to teach the kids healthy eating. We have partnered with a place in Shelton. She does. I apologize.
That's okay.
My brain is I'm a little over. It's called Beastie Burger. She is organic and vegan. So we grow our basil. All the stuff that we grow on site is no pesticides. It's organic. And so she believes in our model. So we grow our tomatoes. She purchases them from us. She purchases our basil, and then she utilizes that at her kitchen in Shelton. which she just partnered now with Pantry, so her burgers are now being sold at the pantry. We also grow lavender at the farm, and that lavender is then dried, and we teach the children, young adults, how to make organic soap. And then we go out into the community, and they've been at farmers markets. We used to do a big Christmas thing, and we were part of the town and doing that as well. So that's something that we're getting back into now that our occupational therapist is done with school and graduating in June. So she'll be back on site now to start this program back up again. So we utilize what the kids are growing to then teach them the healthy eating habits, again, to formulate them into some products for them to sort of sell and to show off. And then if I may divert a little bit back to the fundraisers. Our clients are part of our fundraiser. So they actually learn to build the animatronics that we have at our fundraiser. They learn the woodworking. Anybody who's attended Harvest Fair, if you're at the front gate, one of our special needs adults actually is the person who's working at the gate. So she feels a sense of purpose. Another one of our gentlemen who is one of our actors, also is a special needs young adult who works in one of the departments of the town of Fairfield. And he is an actor in it. So our clients are utilizing our farm and part of the fundraiser, which then benefits them. Having a child with special needs, parents are strapped for money. So I hate going to them, asking for them to now support our cause.
We're going a little bit. I asked about commodity. So
Sorry.
how does the animals fit into that term?
So the animals are obviously not a commodity. The animals are what makes it a farm.
Statute talks about livestock as well.
Right. So we have horses, and horses are actually, if you look at the statutory definition of a farm, which is section 1.1.
You're harvesting any agriculture or horticulture commodity, including grazing, shearing.
Right, including horses, fur-bearing animals, which would be your goats, and wildlife, chickens.
You're excluding the animals from commodity.
I would say that the animals are part and parcel of farming. It says commodity in one phrase and then goes on to talk about raising, shearing, feeding, caring for, training, and management of livestock, including horses, et cetera.
Can I say something? Our horses, just so you know, we rescue them. So we rehabilitate them. Our young adults learn with our staff. We're saving animals and we're rehabilitating them to give them a new purpose, or they would be killed and slaughtered.
It's just not what I asked.
So it's horses and you said there's
Goats
goats
and chickens.
and chickens.
Any other animals?
Donkeys.
Donkeys.
Okay. And you said there was a garden somewhere that you needed access to.
Right, so
How big is that garden?
don't need exact square footage, but
Is it as
basically.
big as this room?
Not as big as this room, probably this section right here.
So that would
And then
be,
we have the greenhouse.
would it be fair to say that that's more, maybe for the therapeutic purposes of the people that come there as opposed to a commodity to be sold to the public on a stand?
I believe it's growing, so it's something that is getting bigger and we intend to do more of
Purpose
it.
of your farm to grow these commodities?
It's a part of our mission.
So the purpose of the farm,
Talking about a farm.
yes,
So the farm has to have a viable, I understand it's nonprofit, doesn't matter if it's profit or nonprofit, but it has to have some sort of business that is a farming business. I totally buy it's clear, animals, the livestock, the horses, the goats, all of that, that's a farm. It could be a petting zoo, it doesn't matter, that's fine. But for purposes of a farm that grows vegetables, I know it says the word commodities, but we know what we're talking about. We're talking about vegetables and other stock that can be grown and cut and processed or sold to the public for whatever purpose, for money to fund the nonprofit. It doesn't
It
matter.
actually funds the young adults who work at, so we hire special needs adults. That's who that money that we
So-
came from the garden.
For purposes of what I'm looking at, that little garden, I grow that in my house. I can't make $100 out of the stuff that I get. So that, I'm not buying that it's worth that much. Maybe it is, but
well, keep in mind too that there are two facilities that are growing. There is a greenhouse, which is where the seeds are basically planted in the wintertime.
is
And
that
then
near the parking area?
that is near the parking areas. It's on by the paddocks. So basically, as you're pulling in from Myrtle.
All the fill was near that?
Yes.
And there's no other way to access it?
No, if you look at the site, then
I wasn't able to look at the site.
look at the survey, you'll see there is noted a greenhouse.
Riding area, existing house.
If you look by where the paddock
I have riding arena.
is, down further.
Shed.
The greenhouse.
Garden. Oh, you're back. Oh, I see the back. Okay,
So that's where the greenhouse is.
right.
So, and then the garden is actually, if
There's
you,
another garden.
Yeah, they're listed here. This,
There's one that's not on there, so.
Oh, I see, okay.
let's see from the road. Yeah. But this is the area we're talking about here, right?
Right.
It's next to the,
Right.
this.
That's right. But
So-
this is,
So, my question to you is, how does this area, how is it imminent to the growing of the garden that's over here?
so the plants are transferred from the garden. The garden is up by the area where the bridge is, that's the northwestern quadrant. It's not shown on the survey, that's where it is.
So if your argument is that a road is exempt from any permitting process, it's as of right.
Yes.
This is not a road, this is a giant parking area. So I'll be happy for you to come back and put that road in and get rid of all of the other stuff. All you need is a 20-foot wide stretch of land.
The road and the parking area, so that swath of land, as you call it.
Council, parking area or road? We have a statute that tells us what is allowed, what is as of right, and what is excluded, what isn't as of right. So I need for you to explain to me and to the commission why the millings that were put here are either fall into the definition of as of right because it's a road, as you say, and is essential to the way that the farm is being used, or otherwise it doesn't, right? So let's see if we can do that.
Sure.
Okay.
So it's a road that's also used for parking. It's used as a road because the farm vehicles that transport plants from the greenhouse to the garden need to traverse it in order to get to the garden. In addition, the delivery trucks that bring farm supplies that are essential for the farming operations use that area in order to traverse the property. So it's a road as far as the fact that it's used for vehicular traffic, essential to farming operations, both the transport of plants from the greenhouse to the garden, as well as the delivery of supplies to the farm.
Council, when it is being used as a parking area, is that farming equipment able to traverse that area?
So that area where the farm equipment goes, that's not where the parking is. So the area by the paddock, that is used for staff parking as well as parking for the plants.
So it can be used simultaneously as parking and as a road?
Yeah, so for example, when they have their fundraisers, it is used for parking, but it's also used for ingress and egress out of the facility. So on a day-to-day basis, when the farming operations are happening, the vehicles use that area to access, to deliver supplies, and transport plants.
How wide of an area do you think?
Well, there is,
Bear in mind that we did, I think of Brett Woods, and we had, I can't even describe the equipment, and we had to allocate 16 feet.
Yeah, that's
So I'm just curious.
That's why I was generous with the 20-foot area.
And 60, these things were just
Huge.
indescribably, so I'm just,
so.
some sort of guidance about how wide you need to.
Absolutely, I understand, and I appreciate your input on that. So, on that area, there are trees right dead center in the middle, all right? There is a electric box, which I believe is an SNET.
If it was a tree and it's as of right activity, you can cut down that tree and put that road right there.
Right.
So
However,
within that 20-foot area.
But imagine, if you will, a truck that's delivering hay or grain, all right? They pull in from Merlin's Lane. They drop off,
Telephone.
right, there's also a
Can I
telephone.
ex- I live it. So we have a telephone pole that's coming right off of Maryland Lane that divides our driveway in half, which is very narrow. So it gets very wet on either side of our entrance. So we couldn't get it get any wetter because it's underwater all of the time. So what happens is the tractor trailer who comes to deliver our hay has to come in up Merwin's, it can't come down Merwin's, and in order for the tractor trailer to get into my place without taking out the telephone pole, the power, has to pull in and go to the left to then make that swing.
Right.
So that's when you're pulling in, that's the reason to the left, so that he can actually get into the parking lot. He cannot pull into my parking lot and turn around back there, so he has to now turn his tractor trailer around and literally back all the way up to unload our hay.
You can almost imagine it like a bus loop at a school, that's what the swing that's required for the vehicles to get in and out of.
And I apologize, I wasn't listening to the last part of that. They do come then onto the northern side of the property, around the bridge, and then back up Merwin's.
They can't, right, so so they kind of swing around, right, so they make a turn and then back all the way into our gate to get onto our property. So previously, what would happen is because we had wood chips there, we would try to time our hay around when we didn't have rain, because even with a little bit of rain, that area is saturated. I can't tell you how many times they've gotten stuck because of that area. So that's, and then also same thing with our grain delivery, but that's because it's a wet. That water area is a wetland.
You're trying to farm in a wetland.
Well,
I understand that. I think that's the issue, is that the asphalt was dumped in that wet area. The asphalt, the millings were dumped.
In the URA.
Yes,
The
yes.
entirety of the property, as I see it, is a URA because I did 100 feet from both wetlands, so the whole thing is URA as you see it from the street. That's
So
pretty
on
much it.
one aspect of it, as of right, they have
Right.
a right to put in roads that work with their farming
support
activity.
Farming effort.
But it just seems to me that you took an inch and made it into a mile situation here. So yeah, you're asking for this commission to say, all of this is fine because all of this is a farming activity. I'm not comfortable going there yet. You gotta give me some more.
So, in terms of taking an inch and making it a mile, all right, the mile was necessary. The trucks cannot deliver the supplies without having the full breadth of that area.
I think I'm gonna need to walk it, because from what I could see from the road, I don't, yeah.
Well, no, okay, so if I'm looking at this map, sorry, that, I'm gonna hold this up right there. Right, so this is the area where you're coming in, where it's difficult and they gotta go this way?
There's a, right in the center there, sir, there's a telephone pole.
Yep, so they gotta come in.
Yeah, and it's very narrow.
The line I'm seeing here is this whole gravel area. This whole thing was millings.
There is a boundary line on there for the millings.
Would you mind, Ken?
I can share my screen.
Yeah, maybe you can do that. So
Right.
this is all millings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. You wanna have an area to come in and turn around? You can have it all over here, big giant turnaround. Why does it have to be all the way over here, by the way?
I would, we did it with the public housing.
Yeah.
Fire
Yes.
rules changed.
The fire line,
I can
that's
tell
right.
you, I remember we lived at a house and they subdivided. And there's streets in town where you can see.
Would you mind sharing your screen?
Where it's asphalt for a circle, those were the rules for the fire engines
The
to
fire
have to
engine.
turn, but we don't have that anymore, they can just back around.
Yeah.
We don't even have that, I mean, I could go to Pine Tree Court.
Yeah.
And all there is some blocked off parking
We
at
had
the
the same thing
corner.
with Judd.
Judd Street, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
And so the argument that you have to have a big turnaround is, if it's gone forward to the state for fire.
Well,
You know?
I will say, I
Not
mean,
gonna-
so I'm very familiar with your organization. I have horses and I know everything that you do, and I'm and I know that fire truck might have a different turning radius from an 18-wheeler that's delivering hay and shavings and so So I'm sympathetic to that, but I guess my question is, well, first of all, did you receive a violation from planning and zoning? And if you did, has that been resolved?
I am not aware of any such violation.
I feel like we're getting into a battle of semantics, and I understand the importance of it relating back to the statutes. But I just wonder if we can't cut to the chase and say, why not come back to this commission and work with us to develop a plan for this parking area that's going to satisfy what we're trying to do and what we're tasked with, but will also help solve your parking issues, and we can work together. I mean, this is a very, very reasonable commission, and we have worked together with other applicants that have, or other people have received notice of violations to try to make it work for everybody. The reason I brought up planning and zoning is just because they're gonna have an issue with this as well.
We did.
Okay.
We did, and when Matt sent us an email and said that if we satisfied the commission here, then zoning would.
They made it dependent on the wetlands.
Correct, right.
They put the onus on you.
The onus on us.
Commissioner,
Yeah.
Bowen, I appreciate that, and certainly, we're willing to work with the commission in
Yeah.
order to fix this. However, what's before you tonight is the petition for the declaratory.
I understand that.
So,
I'm just saying, in light of the petition being denied, there's an opportunity for us to work together to choose a different material,
Protect the wetlands.
protect the wetlands, choose a different
This is
material,
our job.
like gravel, which is not gonna, isn't going to move as much in those rain events and that flooding. It's gonna be more sensitive to the environment. It's actually gonna last a lot longer than the buildings will. I mean, and we can work with, how wide it needs to be. I'm sure that council and Mr. Kenny can help, get maybe Huntington involved to sort of figure out how much turnaround space you need for those 18-wheelers. We can work with you to do that.
Understood and appreciated.
but the trouble I have is, we have to agree with the jurisdiction. State that the applicant has the burden of proving that you're the farm and this is needed, and that it needs to be done in advance. And I'm also a little confused. At the end, you say all the prior activities are permitted uses, and yet you really say to the extent that the millings did in fact encroach, we're gonna remove them. I feel like you're supposed to know that we have jurisdiction going in. It seems to me like we're trying to cover every base, and we've been here before. I feel like we're revisiting another application that I don't like thinking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's making me uncomfortable.
And that's, I think, why Commissioner Bowen has offered this olive leaf branch leaf, saying that we wanna work with you. I think
Yes.
Instead of arguing
there is a
over
there is
whether
a
or not it's
solution
as
here.
of right.
there is.
There is a
Because that's
solution.
not an argument that I think you're gonna easily win with this commission.
As of right, the way it is now, I'm not sure any commissioner here is gonna go down that road. However, we do see and appreciate your need to do the farming work that you want to do, the work that you need to do. 18-wheeler is different than a fire truck, and you need some space. But this whole area is, really just the contour of Sasko. So that's where, it's a little concerning for what we need to do. And I was just given this by Tim, just so you know, January 2nd, the Town Planning and Zoning Commission sent their statement of consistency, and they don't approve this either. They have comments. We can give you a copy of this.
Yeah, I appreciate, because I did not have that.
Okay, so just so you know, planning and zoning isn't on board as is either. They have some requests and recommendations.
I also want to point out that this is somewhat problematic for you in the future, because the millings will move with water. And so as there is rain and flooding in that area, those millings will then be moved into the stream bed, and it will just exacerbate into the wetlands and exacerbate the flooding on your property. So again, we can work with you to try to figure out a better plan that not only remediates the issue, but also helps prevent flooding issues for you in the future.
Okay.
Mr. Kenny was shared the screen, this is the survey that you have in front of you, and he's done some markup on here. So I'll turn the floor over with the chairman's permission to Bill Kenny for, thank you.
Basically try to simply show the areas that are mapped as the wetlands. The boundary lines are in blue on the survey, and then I've highlighted them with the green. And then the orange is the limit of the millings. So there's, in the southwest, near the entrance, there's one area where the millings went into the wetland. So that's clear.
The red circle?
Yeah, that's clearly, whether or not these things are agricultural or not, that's not an exempt activity. So that would have to certainly be removed. And just for some reason, my colors aren't staying but
that's okay.
A couple things to note is that there's this driveway, so there was always.
Is that bridge?
Access. It's not currently, it's in disrepair, but there was always a driveway there, because there's two separate lots. Here's a building lot line. And so there was a driveway on the south side and a driveway coming through here. So there were, you could talk about the edges. But there was certainly two lots with two access.
And each of the agway or whoever can't go on the bridge, right?
The bridge is not operational.
I mean, if.
And they wouldn't either, and neither would the fire department.
Right.
Too much weight. So, but.
Go back.
Right, so if you look at that, kind of the peak in the northwestern corner, following along the orange area, that is the area where that turnaround I was mentioning is. The turnaround that is used by the delivery trucks, and also the area where the on-site farm equipment accesses.
So can you show us on Bill's computer how an ATV would get in?
Right.
And turn around or farm equipment or any vehicle?
I believe they're.
Doing a loop.
Yeah, doing something. That's exactly right.
Yes, because obviously I didn't want to take down any more trees and trying to preserve the trees that we have.
It might go out there.
So that's kind of why that became the loop, because of what trees are there. We also have underground power there, so we have the big whatever that thing is called. We need to obviously stay away from that. We also have underground filtration. That when the house was built, there's underground filtration there as well. You can't drive over that. So that's another reason why that loop is the way that loop is.
For like a septic system?
No,
Or
for
Like a Coltex.
okay.
thank you. Couldn't think of the word.
I mean, I think that there's a solution here if we spend some time working on it. And I know that time and money is not what you.
Money's not an option, unfortunately, I'm gonna be honest. We got these millings for free because we couldn't afford to do the repairs. I understand that's not your problem,
Yeah, well, I mean,
but also at the same token, I can't take away, I'm not gonna stop feeding my animals to.
of course.
I'm not trying to be fresh or be flip, I'm being honest. This was done as a favor from someone, and I'm sorry, honestly, I'm sorry, I took the favor. Because now it's spent money that we don't have, and trying to keep our business afloat. So I'm being honest.
Well, and I'll say that this commission has the authority to limit or reduce the costs that we control, application costs, things like that, for people that demonstrate such a need and are willing to work with us.
Things like that.
Right.
Yeah, and we do that all the time.
Counsel, if it's, if you wanna speak to your client on whether you wanna go forward tonight and have us decide on your application, or withdraw and talk to staff and kind of do it in a conjunctive,
Collaborative.
way.
Well,
It's,
I believe that both paths are not mutually exclusive. I definitely get the lay of the land here that you're not gonna approve,
not the way it is, but we do want to help. I wanna make it clear.
Yep.
We wanna help you. You've been good to the community for various aspects of how you can help and benefit the community. But there's also, we have a duty that we need to deal with. And your counsel's doing a great job. He's doing a good, I'm an attorney. I do this kind of stuff. He's down the right road with what he can try to do. It's a little bridge too far to get to the end of it. And, you know, but we wanna help. And we will do everything we can, as Commissioner Bowen said, if you bring in an application and you do a fee waiver and you know, everybody works with you, you know, we wanna work with you.
So I guess what I would say is that, you know, since we have the petition before you, I would ask that you move on and given your reasons why, and then we can come back to the.
Come back, okay, yeah, that's fine. You got a good head start with Bill here, so, you know.
For sure.
Commissioners, would you like to rule on?
And I will say this also, just one other thing, we're already familiar with it. So you're already one step ahead. In doing.
If I could just have a moment, please, for.
Are you giving the option for a declaratory ruling in the future with a modified design?
No, we'll leave it up to you how you want to work with us.
That helps with fees and things like that.
I would obviously suggest going to staff first and showing them and then they would maybe let us know. Or you could also, which is another thing we've done in the past, come in with a concept review. Bring it in without any consequences. You say, hey, how does this look?
No
No
permit
fees,
fee,
no
no,
nothing.
yeah.
You just come, you waste your, you know, your time on one night, if you will, or you get a benefit because we show us what we're, oh, that's exciting, you know, we want that, you know, so that might be another way to go. So maybe we'll just leave it as, we're gonna vote on this petition tonight, and then you decide how you wanna approach us, and just know that we're open to working with you.
Appreciate that.
But it's gotta be a little different than what it is here.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, okay,
I'll
so
move that if you want, maybe have some discussion.
ahead.
but I'll move.
I think we've had enough discussion. So you have a motion to
Yeah.
deny this this declaratory ruling?
Yeah, we don't need to discuss anything else.
No, it's not a public hearing. Yeah. So if they were to come up with a plan to do something in the future that would require a public hearing, then you'd be able to speak then.
Can I just ask one question?
No, not right now. You can talk to staff if you'd like during any time. But I mean, read the room, we're
We've
gonna
asked, we've
deny it.
asked her to work with you as a group. We've asked you to work with the neighborhood, and she has been.
When that time comes, you will be able to, but right now, it's not the time. You have a motion on the floor to deny or not, it's not or denying the ruling, it's not a farming activity. Second that, okay, all in favor? Yeah, all around, okay? So look forward to seeing you come back.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
And you should know you're doing it in good faith. It might have been a rough start, but you're coming in good faith. There's another file that we're dealing with that is much more difficult, right? And we appreciate, yeah, really, yeah, very nice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. First, with Ted second. Okay. We're moving on to number 6, bills and bond releases. Number 1, WP 24-0028. It's Engineering LLC, 865 Equid Avenue, map 41, parcel 164A. Demolition of existing dwelling, construction new dwelling, attached garage, new driveway, pool, patio, septic and drainage system associated. Area west of Walker Stapleton, favorite for partial bond release of 24,000 of original 400,400 for the completion of stormwater detention system. Staff recommends partial bond. Someone's gonna probably have like 9%. set?
Yeah, so that they installed the stormwater detention system. I didn't wanna do the 24,000 that the site monitor did because the entire site is still disturbed.
Okay.
So I figured about half the bond would be sufficient.
Motion for the
Motion,
for the partial release of the 15,000.
all in favor? Aye, and when he comes back, I'm sure he'll
We
be,
don't need a second.
no, it's okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Peter, did you second?
Yeah, sure, Peter
Yeah, whatever,
seconded,
yeah,
and
somebody
then,
else.
and it's,
It was the original.
yeah,
Sure.
all right. IWP 2018-19-04, Ocean Park LLC, 400 Bronson Road, map 229, parcel 187A, demolition of existing barn and construction of a new single-family dwelling within the area. Request for final bond release of $19,041. Staff recommends partial bond release of $13,041 and hold remaining $6,000 until final site work is completed and as-built survey is revised. And that one?
It's essentially done. There is a little bit, the as-built was missing two things that I wanted to see. And the, which was boulder demarcation and like a stone trench that needed to be shown on there. It's meant after everything.
Sounds fair. Motion to approve that bond release. Diane, second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Moving on to 7, legal enforcement actions. Number 1, show cause hearing, Donnelly, 3642 Black Rock Turnpike, map 72, lot 150. Notice of violation issued to property owner for conducting regulated activities in their regulated area without a permit, no response to NOV to date. Okay.
Notice violation issued on November 20th. It's at the back of your packet for site work. There's clearly the home renovation, extensive home renovation taking place. That's in progress and been in progress since the NOV was sent and the certified mail card did come back signed. The homeowner, Ms. Donnelly, did accept the NOV. And due to no response by the deadline for contact, December 23rd, the corrective action order was submitted, thereby resulting in tonight's show cause hearing. The work going on is grading and other construction related activities and attached and detached from the home. The reason for our concern is there is a water course through the parcel, which is hydraulically connected under Black Rock Turnpike to a wetland system up gradient that is also part of the property at the Black Rock Church. And as the agency may recall, you did approve a culvert connection, I'll call it, of multiple pipes on that church property, I would say a year or two ago, next to the parking lot. That consolidation of pipes and drainage is piped. The outlet for that system goes under the road and then through this property in open channel. So all the grading happening and site disturbance and compaction is occurring next to this water course with no sediment and erosion controls. And again, zero response since November from property owners. So that is
well, that's not good.
All I have.
That's what that is.
And they're still working today?
Work is still going on. They do have a building permit. And the chief building official is aware that our eyes are on it. I've copied them, that department on this.
The building permit was all
So-
for interior and I think a roof so
Yeah.
nothing that we
It-
would have.
Going back to what we heard at that meeting, the Kakiewicz meeting, is this an instance where maybe we should issue something to the person doing the work?
Every time I go by or have staff go by, no one's ever there. So the skid steer or the backhoe move and, we'll drive by and no one's there. It's
You
never a-
stick it on the
it's never a
windshield?
pickup truck. Yeah. We need like the New York.
Yeah, like the New York, can we boot it, can we boot this thing? Like, what's our option here?
So yeah, there's been no one's in the house, so we.
Right, like, yeah,
we
I was
approved
gonna
the building
say.
Permit, but like Sarah said, it was, if you're redoing your bathroom or something, you're not supposed to be adding a porch on the
No.
side porch and regrading your front lawn, so. Well, the next step I would recommend,
Council.
yeah, turning it to
Yeah.
council. That's a vote for the agency.
Yeah.
Any questions?
With 90 days, or are you just gonna go straight to council?
Well, it's from November.
November
I'm
20th.
just asking, because a couple
You
of times.
want, do you?
No, no,
Well, let's split the difference, 30 days.
because you did it a couple of times, probably with me being crabby, and I think we issued a 90, yeah, sure. We issued a 90-day, demand. I
That's
don't
when
think-
there was somebody who was away, like in Latin America, South America, and he came up and he did do work, but there was no work going on. This is
But
work
I
still
think
going on.
if they signed it and it says on there,
So
not appearing is not an option. They could have called the office. I mean, there was multiple, if there was an illness and they couldn't be here
I
tonight,
only
they
meant
could
that
have called the office.
we said at some point we were turning it over to council. Nothing more, and that doesn't mean I'm in favor, like to talk out loud.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'm glad we're talking. How do you guys, Diane, how do you feel? Do you wanna do something where I don't know, reach out to them one more time and
I think they've made it clear they're not gonna communicate.
I'm with Clint.
You're with Clint, I got you.
Hang 'em high.
Gotcha. I know where Pete stands.
Well,
Kate, I think that you're.
I just feel that if we know they're in receipt, they signed the receipt, it says clearly it's not optional that they needed to do something to either appear or to call I feel that they.
That's frustrating.
Well, they lied on their
They're
building.
still working,
too.
which makes me a little anxious, and that, if I can remember correctly, that junction box that is no joke, that's a lot of water going through that property.
Need a lot of water.
I
And
mean, that's not,
my
I mean,
concern.
that could be a big mess if it backs up into that junction box.
There's exposed soils, I mean, we're going on 3 months here and no action, so my recommendation would be swift response from town council.
I kind of, yeah.
There's been enough chances.
So I have every opportunity to
I'll move that.
respond.
Yeah.
A motion to refer this to town council from anybody.
So move.
Second.
All right, so Ted moved and seconded to refer this matter to town council. And when we say refer this matter to town council, if town council were to ask, what does that mean? For the record, that means to do everything up to starting a lawsuit. They don't have to come back and get second approval to start a lawsuit. But if that means they wanna reach out to them first and formally, they can do that too. But it's town council now that can take it and then just keep us apprised of what they need to do. Of what they're doing, okay?
Very good, thank you.
Okay.
Vote.
We didn't vote. Oh, well, I'm just assuming everybody's on the same page. Yes, all in favor, all around.
Diane keeping us honest
Yeah,
down there.
That's right.
I got a whip down.
Thanks,
Well, I'm
Diane.
afraid of Ted, so
All right.
I just kind of went quiet and silent.
I'll shine the light on you.
Moving on to Roman 8.
I mean, from you,
Staff
that's a
report,
big threat.
report from the Conservation Department. CWC permit applications received 3. Notice of violations issued 0, that's nice, and
Oh,
bond release
okay.
7. Site walks, what did you wanna say about that in particular?
Yeah, I mean, just generally looking at the numbers, December was, I don't wanna say slow, but it was quieter than fire drill status. Allowed the department to catch up on some things. Yeah, that's on the agenda for conservation.
We have I just wanna say that the CWCs, I think we've already gotten 3 in for this month, so
Okay.
it's
so
coming back,
pick it up.
and-
Okay,
yeah.
Right, it's the time of the year, yeah. All right, and then do we have sidewalks for January? We didn't receive anything.
No, there's nothing that they,
No?
no.
Okay.
They
None.
need to revisit them.
Let's all get up early in the cold anyway.
Let's pick the coldest Sunday we can find, just to get out there.
If it happens to be a below zero Sunday morning, just know automatically, let's just meet at town hall, just for the fun of it.
Hey, listen, if you ever walk those properties on Sasko Hill, I'll come and take minutes.
Okay.
Oh,
we should-
we took
we'll do it
pictures.
again. They are gorgeous.
They were.
Yeah.
I heard Dylan McDermott bought a property there.
Oh, really?
Jensen
Oh, wow.
Ackles did. Well, yeah, he bought the original house.
Who did?
Jensen Ackles. Who is that?
He was in Supernatural.
And his wife is on a soap opera.
What? Very good. All right, so we're moving on to 9 other. I have something that's actually Rick's, but I'll want to put it on for the next month's meeting, but just to give you guys some background.
Okay.
Rick had reached out and said, I think we're supposed to be doing the Pledge of Allegiance when we start our meetings. And I wasn't, I'm not aware of it, so I kind of looked into our charter and what's there. And the representative town meeting starts with the Pledge of Allegiance, but there's nothing that says that any other body has to do it.
Selectman does it,
Or
but they're about the only ones I see, yeah.
well, and then the next step, what I did is I just went on YouTube and found all the meetings that I could find it online, and it's kind of split down the middle, 50-50. Board of Selectmen, well, land acquisition,
does.
and a couple do it, and then some don't. Zoning doesn't. So I'm gonna put it on the agenda for next month, and we can vote on it and discuss it. And if you guys want to do the Pledge of Allegiance, I'm all for it. And if you don't, okay, that's fine too. So it's,
Just as long as you're not like Selectman Gerber and assigning it to someone who happens to randomly be in a meeting
Oh, that's
and
not
say, lead the Pledge of Allegiance, please, Ted. No, I don't remember the words.
As long as you don't have to
Okay.
sing.
That was,
all right.
other than that.
I just wanted to let you guys know that that'll be on next month's agenda. Okay.
Aren't we the best
The
meeting?
first
Aren't we the
four words
best
are the
meeting?
name of it. I pledge allegiance. Then hopefully everybody else gets it.
Of the United States of America.
Take off our ball caps.
Turn off your lights.
Yeah.
Anything from anybody else on other? No, in that case.
Nice.
All right.
All right.
Let's go skating.
Just